right, good morning everyone. Thank you for joining us. So Matt is going to do a inspection today. This is Tyler's hive. It's our Winnie-the-Pooh hive. We want to basically just go over the basics of a hive inspection and answer any questions that you may have. I mean, I have a lot of questions for Matt because Matt's the one that knows the most. We've had our hives for, what, 10 months, babe? We started with 2.
In October, yeah.
Yeah, we started with 2, and it has fastly grown into 4. So if there are anything, like any questions during this video, please post it. We will answer it right away. If you're not watching live with us and you still have questions, we will answer them, maybe in another video. If there's something that you want to dive deeper into and want us to do a whole video just on that one topic, leave your comments below and we would love to do that. So Matt, I just have a couple questions. Like, what are the tools that you are using right now?
So really the first thing you want to do is crack the top, use your smoker. I'm using a hive tool. So basically it just lets you...
What does the smoker do for the bees?
The smoker,
or to the bees?
It kind of... People say it calms them down, but it just masks their alarm pheromone. So whenever they're getting a little agitated, or they do, like, if they sting you, that's why it attracts more bees to you, because they put off an alarm pheromone.
Okay.
So the smoke basically just masks that pheromone and helps keep them calm. And
your hive tool does what?
So the hive tool, specifically this one is the one I use to crack the lid. It's basically a miniature pry bar. It just lets you get under there, because every time you seal up the hive, they repropylize everything. Propolis is stuff that they get from trees. It's not really nectar, it's not wax, it's like tree sap, and they use it to propolize everything. So anytime you hear it cracking as you open the lid, that's what that sound is. It's breaking that seal.
Okay, and what are those white things that you're removing right now?
This is Swiffer sheets. So the Swiffer sheets help catch these hive beetles, which can really run rampant in your hive. And their larvae, once they hatch, they're like little worms, and if you get an overinfestation, not enough bees, they can, what they do is call it a slime out. And you'll pull out a frame and it just looks nasty. There's they almost look like maggot worms crawling through it. So you want to try and avoid that. Swiffer sheets in the corners, the bees will tough it up. So
these are the Swiffer sheets that you use to, like, clean the floor?
Yep.
Like the dry mop?
The dry mop sheets,
okay.
Yeah.
And
this one's folded in half. So.
And those are unscented?
Unscented. They have to be unscented.
Yes.
But yeah, the bees will, like, tuft up the Swiffer sheet, and then it makes the little legs on the hive beetles get caught. So right now, the bees are actually very calm. It seems like they're doing really well drawing out these frames. I'm going to pull some out here in a second. But you can tell they're not really getting too excited right now, so...
And that's good.
Don't really need to smoke them too much, but I want to make sure my smoker stays lit, so I'm puffing it a little bit here.
And if somebody doesn't have a smoker, what would they use? You have another tool to kind of move the bees?
You can use a bee brush. It kind of just like lightly brush the frames as you're trying to take the bees out of the equation. Sometimes, especially in the honey super, you don't want to use too much smoke, because then you can get like a mesquite taste to your honey. So it gets like a smoky flavor to it, which kind of basically ruins the nice floral notes of the honey that you're trying to go for with the nectar. typically do is I pop this lid. You can see you've got a bunch of bees on the lid. And what you want to do first is make sure that you don't have the queen on here before you set it down like I did. So I did a quick inspection. The queen isn't on the lid, so you can lean it up against the front of the hive. That way they can either fly back to the hive through the entrance, or they can crawl back up the board into the hive. Okay. So you'll see me using both hive tools. This hive tool is actually a little bit different. It's got the same flat bit here, but it's also got a J. So if the frames are giving you trouble, you can just pry it up underneath the frame and give it a little leverage and pop it out. So basically what you want to do first, just shove the frames to one side of the box. Give it a little nudge.
And how many frames do you have?
So this is an 8-frame hive.
Okay.
So they have 8 and 10 frame hives in this style. This is a Langstroth style hive. They have other styles. So this one has 8 frames. I gotta grab my frame rest real quick. Hold on 1 second. Okay, so the frame rest just gives you the ability to move frames out of the hive to give you a little bit more room. So you really want to just kind of shove them over, then you can start pulling frames out. I actually did this the wrong way. I wanted it this way. And you know what?
Is there a specific reason why you do one side over the other?
So I usually try the frames that are empty, that don't really have any bee activity on them, are the ones I try to remove. That way it doesn't matter, there's no eggs being exposed out of the hive for any length of time. There's no honey and stuff hanging on the side of your hive, because then that can create like a swarm feeding frenzy from other bees seeing your resources hanging out on the side of the hive. Give it a little pry. Like this one is empty right now, doesn't have anything going on. This is going to be a foundationless frame. I have another one in here. I'll show you what it looks like when they start drawing it out. Sometimes you can give them foundation just to give them a little head start, because otherwise they have to draw all of that comb out, and it just takes a lot of time. It takes 8 pounds of honey to get 1 pound of wax. So just imagine how much wax or honey they would have to consume to draw out both sides of this frame. This is just foundation. There's no drawn comb on here yet.
What's foundation made out of?
This one's made out of plastic. They have plastic. They have, you can get honey or comb foundation. So it's basically just melted wax foundation from honeybee colonies that have been collected, and then they roll it through a press, and it basically looks the same as that plastic one did with the hexagon shapes on it. But then it's more natural. Some people don't like putting the plastic in there. So here we go. So what you want to do every time you pull out a full frame is always give it a quick glance to make sure that the queen isn't on there, because you don't want to be moving the queen out away from the hive. So I don't see her on here. This queen does have, she was marked the last time, so she's got a green dot on her. Green is for, or the different colors are for the year that she was hatched. And green is, see this side's empty. Green is for the year 2024. It's probably like 2022. I don't remember the exact nomination, but it's, there's two, whatever the end number is for the year is what it goes by. So this one is full of honey.
Your arm is kind of in the shade. Can you, there you go.
There you go. That's better. So see all that nectar in there? They're just bringing all the nectar.
Point specifically to it.
Okay, so all these frames.
Okay, the ones that
you
aren't
see the glistening.
capped.
Can you see that from the camera?
I think so,
Yeah. Okay, so there's all these uncapped frames right now are filled with nectar, and then these that look white, that's actually they've started capping. So
and that means it's basically complete. It's done.
Yep.
Okay.
Once they get it to the percentage, the water percentage that they need, which is 15% water to 18% water, then they'll cap it. And basically, if you ever look at the outside of the hive and you see them all fanning their wings, they're trying to get air into the hive so they can get some airflow. And they'll sit on the fronts of the frames and flap their wings and just try to dry out the honey, because nectar all has a certain portion of water in it, so a certain percentage of water in it. This one's really heavy.
Now, when you say really heavy, about how much does that one frame weigh?
Right now, I'd say it's probably around 3 pounds, maybe.
Okay.
So it's a combination of the bees.
Yeah, I see like a little bit darker area.
Yeah, hold on one second. Let me give a quick glance for the queen.
Oh yeah, that one's really dark.
So, just want to make sure she's not on here when I move her. If you move the frame out away from the hive and the queen happens to be on there and she drops off, then you risk stepping on the queen and her not getting back into the colony. So yeah, so these, the darkness of it could just be the amount of time they've spent using that frame. So their feet are dirty. It's like as they come in, there's no welcome mat. So they over time the frame does get dark. So it's just from dirt on the frame, or dirt on the bees. And but some of it is different nectars coming in from different sources, different flowers, different trees. Just could have different colored nectars. And some of it, as you can see in here, let me get a good grip on this. So some of these dots that look a little bit different color, like a yellowish or an orangish.
Can you come a little bit closer?
So these here, can you see that?
Yep.
That's bee bread. So they basically bring pollen in and they pack it in there and they make what's called bee bread, and it basically is fermented pollen. It's pollen mixed with, I think, a little bit of nectar, and then that's what they feed to the baby bees. It's their protein. It's just a protein source for the bees, but the baby bees get a lot of bee bread as well. So on the brood frames, you'll see a lot of that. So like this one again has a lot of nectar in it. I don't know if you can see that glistening on the camera.
Yeah.
But yeah, so queen's not on this one yet. But the main thing we try to do every time is get a good glance around and make sure you're not getting any eggs.
And you're just moving them so that you can see the frame.
Yep. So there's a couple ways you can do it. You can kind of just tap them like that and they'll just move out of the way. You can give them a little blow, but then they get a little bit more agitated.
Yeah.
But then you can see if there's any queen cells starting, because you really don't want any queen cells. If your queen's doing well and there's just not enough room, or they...
So if you see a queen cell, what necessarily does that indicate?
So what I've always done when you get a queen cell is mostly what they're trying to do is either supersede the queen, which means she's not laying well enough, or they don't feel that she's fulfilling her duties, so that they'll supersede her and create a new queen. And when those new queens hatches, they'll eliminate the old queen. Sometimes they eliminate the old queen before that. It's an emergency cell. Emergencies are something happened to the queen, she got squished or whatever. They realize within about an hour they can tell that the pheromone that the queen was putting off is gone, and they will start to create new queens. So they'll take an existing egg that's already there, and
now I see something in the middle of that hive, like in this frame, in the middle of that frame. It's sticking out a little bit more. What is that?
this here.
Yeah,
It's fur comb. They sometimes start to make like bridge comb, they call it. So they'll start to like just build wonky comb. This was a fresh one that we had waxed. So it's this plastic foundation, and then they just start to draw the comb out. So they probably just got a little wonky with it coming off the frame. Sometimes they'll bridge in between, and so they'll make it that way on purpose so that it's just a, instead of having to crawl from one frame to the other, yeah, it's just a bridge. Let's see here. Don't see the queen on this one. This was a relatively new queen because the hive had swarmed, so we just want to make sure. Well, I don't know if they swarmed. There was a lot of bees. Couldn't tell if they had swarmed or not, but it was definitely a new queen because the previous queen had been marked. So maybe there was something wrong with that queen and they superseded her, but when I did one hive inspection, there was a lot of queen cells all along the bottom of the frame, which is typically where swarm cells are. Swarms are just, they don't have enough room. Queen doesn't have enough room to lay. Like, we've added a box relatively recently. That's why you have a couple empty frames in here, and they're just not quite drawing them out yet. So this one actually has a couple different colors of pollen in it. You can see like the bright orange and the yellows. So
and why do you turn the frame a certain way? Because
so
I see how you're kind of like,
if there's nectar in it and it's not capped, it's raining back into the hive.
oh.
So if you have technical difficulties,
No, you're good.
okay. But yeah, so then you can see both sides without potentially spilling any nectar on the ground.
Okay, without wasting the resources.
Yep. All the hard work that the girls did. Definitely don't want to waste it. Come on, girls, watch out. So I always try to push them back together when I put them in because it's a lot easier to put it back together when they're all pushed together. Otherwise, you got to make sure there's no bees in between the frames because you will squish them eventually.
How many bees can live in one? So, like, a hive can consist of multiple boxes, and we'll talk about that. But how many bees can fit in one box?
So, I know from what I've been told and read, a healthy colony, I don't know what the definition of that is, how many boxes, etc. But a healthy colony can have anywhere from 50 to 60,000 bees in it. So I don't know exactly how many per box. I know one of the people that I follow on YouTube was bored. He's in Pennsylvania. It's Frederick Dunn, and he counted one winter when he didn't have anything to do how many cells were on one of these frames, and it's about 3,000 cells on one side. So when you have all these capped on both sides and they all start hatching, you're basically introducing 6,000 new bees to the hive with every frame.
And how often do bees hatch?
So there's 3 different kinds of bees in a hive. You have worker bees, which is mostly what you see here. You have drones, and then you have the queen. So they each have slightly different
that's a lot of bees.
Pattern for their their hatching phase, I guess.
Okay.
There's a name. It's eluding me right now.
So basically, it takes longer for a queen to hatch than it would a normal worker bee.
Actually, no. So the workers are the most.
Takes the longest.
No, sorry. The drones are the most. That's why varroa mites typically like drone cells because they actually have a little bit more of a gestation period before they hatched.
So I know you're gonna. I want to see a little bit more. This is like a different color. So there's a lot more activity on this
outside that looks like a little fatter by my left hand here. That's all capped honey. So inside there's a lot of brood on this frame. I was just making sure because there's fresh eggs on this frame that the queen isn't hiding here somewhere before I show it to you guys. Because there's a lot of larvae. There's fresh eggs. There's larvae with royal jelly in it, which all the bees at some point get royal jelly. Let me just take one quick glance at the other side, make sure she's not here. I don't see her. To my knowledge, I've never stepped on a queen. I really don't want to. So let me just Yeah. So all those open cells down there are going to be packed with either fresh eggs, which looks like a little baby piece of rice, or I don't know if you can see it, but there's some down in there that's kind of yellow. It's got like a...
You have to get a little bit closer.
Almost like a little curled up worm, and some of them have like what looks like a little white jelly in there. That is royal jelly.
I don't know if they can see
I don't know
it,
if you can see it because of the way the sun is, but it's there. There's the good sign about fresh eggs means that the queen was here within the last 2 to 3 days. Most of these are still standing up. They haven't quite fallen over yet. So when she first lays them, they're standing straight up. Looks like a grain of rice standing up if you just held it with your finger on the counter. And then after 2 or 3 days, they fall over. And then they go to the next stage. But I believe queens have the fastest cycle when it comes to being laid, from the time they're laid to the time they actually grow into a queen. And the queen cells are definitely different. They're larger because the queens are larger. They typically look like a giant peanut hanging off the side. So the outside frame, this is what typically it looks like, the outside edges of this frame are capped honey. And see, you can tell it's darker, so they've been walking on it longer than some of the other ones that were fresh white wax. Yeah.
Okay. So it's not something different, it's just because it's been sitting there longer.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yep. And like I said, they've got little dirty feet.
And going back to the bees, so a queen takes typically how long from the time she's laid until she is a full-grown bee? Or queen?
We're going to test my knowledge here because I know this, but now you're asking me in front of the camera. So typically the queen, I want to say it's like 16 days.
16 days, okay.
I think. I'll answer that, and then they're usually like, but it's just enough time for the varroa mites to get in there and do slightly more damage. Oh, look, got a little friend here. Climbed onto my finger.
And,
come on, girl.
And so you've got the queen, the worker bee, and the drone.
Yeah, the drones are the males. They're basically useless. No comment, ladies. They have one purpose. It's to mate, and they die in that process. And then as winter approaches and the resources are going to die down and the colony size is dying down, the women boot out all the drones.
And how long does it take for a drone from the time he's laid to become a full
That's
drone?
what I'm saying. I think they're like 24 days. They're
24
like,
days.
Yeah,
okay.
they're like
so
3 or 4 days longer than a... I said I'll put all these in the comments because I know I'm going to get it wrong. But
okay.
That last one sounds about right. This one, the laying pattern on that frame looked pretty good.
What is laying power? Sorry.
Laying pattern. So the pattern that the queen
okay.
does. Usually they do like a clockwise pattern, so it'll start at one point and work their way around like a clock, and then like a spiral.
Can you show us that side?
Yeah, hold on, I just want to make sure the queen's not on here.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see a big...
Big what?
It looks like a really big bee right there in the middle.
Yeah.
But that's not her. That's not the queen.
No, those are the drones.
Oh, those are the drones. Okay.
They're very confusing because if you're not used to picking out the queen, that is definitely... They're bigger, so they look like that. But yeah, those big ones, they almost look like a large fly that's colored like a bee. That is a drone. So those are the males.
Can you come in a little bit closer?
I can't tell where I'm at. You tell me.
No, you're good. That's
good?
Yeah, I just wanted to see the different types of bees.
Can you point to them? Because I'm holding the frame.
Hold on. So, let's see. You've got like this guy right here.
Yep, that's a drone.
Here, come over to your right just a little bit. There you go. Yeah, this guy right here.
Yeah, those guys are drones.
Okay.
And then the rest are workers.
Okay.
So this is very heavy. It's got a lot of honey, capped honey. It's got bee bread, and it's got a lot of eggs. That's what's making me just double check, because sometimes these queens get a little shy and they'll jump to the other side as soon as you flip it. You just got to make sure they are not there, because they can be under these big balls of bees and you won't even notice. Last week when I did the inspection on Crystal's hive, I never spotted the queen, but there was eggs and everything there, so I know she was there. I just never got to see her. But yeah, so here's just a little bit more. There's capped honey. There's open cells, don't really have any brood in them or anything. That's probably where she's moving her. They're just going to keep capping this one. But typically the center frames in a hive are the brood chamber. Sometimes it shifts, but typically the outside frames on both sides will be the resource frames. She's getting a little agitated here. Let me get some smoke going again. I should have puffed this sooner. While I'm doing this, you got any other questions coming in, or?
No, unfortunately we don't, but I am full of questions. So what, can you show me what you're working on right now? So you're puffing up your smoker.
I'm trying to get the smoker going. Usually while you're doing the inspection, you just want to keep puffing on it a little bit. And I haven't been, so I'm hoping it didn't go out. I might have to relight it. But it should be okay. Usually it just takes a little bit to get it.
And what is on top of that smoker? Like
So
in the
I
inside right
actually just
there?
learned this little trick the other day, listening to a podcast, and the guy said sometimes when it gets burning a little bit, you'll get like pieces of ash or chips of smoker fuel coming out, and then it will come out. So your little paper towel on. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay. I have to kneel down a little bit here. Might come out of frame a little, but.
Okay, I was walking up to go get it, but he is fully prepared and has a box for his tools that we will show you guys in a little bit. And I actually didn't introduce myself. This is Matthew Herka, and I am his wife, Crystal. And I am still learning as we've been beekeeping. I haven't been in the hives with him as much because we have 2 little children. But we were very lucky today to have the opportunity to be in here together. So, very excited. Oh, John, thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, I know you just joined us, but if you have any questions, please let us know. Love to answer them.
There we go.
All right, he's getting the smoker going again here. Just to calm the bees down a little bit,
This sucker.
since we're irritating and invading their home.
There we go. Much better. Okay, ladies, let's give you a little puff. Just a little puff.
And so going back to what exactly does the smoke do?
The smoke just gives them, just calms them down a little bit. It kind of covers up their pheromone, their alarm pheromone. And if you squish a bee, alarm pheromone goes off.
You can hear them getting a little bit louder.
Yeah, they don't like the smoke.
Yeah.
It's like it kind of throws them into a fight or flight mode, and they're like, wait a minute, what's going on? Why are we having all this smoke? So yeah, so here is one of the foundationless frames that they have created all this comb by themselves.
Oh, that's neat.
So this is another one of those ones you don't want to just flip over sideways, because the weight of that comb will just flop right out of there, because it's so heavy laden with honey. It would just flop right out. So, but yeah, they'll eventually connect it to the bottom. As you can see, they're starting a little bit down there now. But yeah, this is all nicely fresh honey. Looking good. So there's a bunch of brood up in the top box. A lot of resources.
What is brood?
Brood are the eggs. So it goes from an egg to the capped brood. There was no capped brood in the top that I could point out to you, but there was a lot of eggs and larvae. So basically, once they get to the pupa stage, they cap the frame, and then the bee finishes growing with the cell capped. Now I'm just kind of going to scoot them back together.
And do you have you were saying earlier there's a way that the bees line up their hives. So that's what you're doing, is you're putting them back in order. What is that order?
So typically you have, now we have 8, so I'll do based on an 8 frame hive. You have 4 frames in the center that can typically be brood, and then you have 2 on the outside and 2 on the outside, and those will be more resource frames. So pollen, nectar. Not saying that they won't store nectar and pollen on the brood frames, which are where the eggs are, but typically that's what they will do. Sometimes you'll have the brood nest, what they call it, shifted one way or the other, and then the frames will be, the resource frames will just kind of be on the outside. That way they can maintain the temperature needed for the eggs in the center for the brood nest, which they try to maintain like a 95-degree temperature within the hive. I mean, they can regulate that no matter what temperature it is outside with their body heat, and they move their wing muscles. You'll see them, like I said, fanning their wings, and that just generates heat, and they can cycle it around the hive by moving and fanning. So now I'm just kind of, you always want to try and remember to put it back the way that you hold it apart. Sometimes you can move it around depending upon what's going on. You might have to shift frames. Like if you really want, oh, that one got stung, or got stuck on my shirt and pulled her stinger out. So she's on her last hurrah. But especially now that we know that happened, you want to give that area a good puff, because that way the alarm pheromone will be right there, and you don't want to agitate the rest of the bees.
Here, I can do that while you keep going.
I'm hoping it will keep going.
Well, let me keep puffing it.
I'm going to need it in a second. Okay, here.
actually tell me one reason why the smoker would keep going out.
So the fuel, because it's packed in there the way that it is, if you're not keeping it going, then
Just like any fire?
just any fire, it'll go out. It needs to be stoked. So I hear you, ladies. I hear you. Proud moment, ladies and gentlemen. Crystal's first time lighting a smoker. Like she said, typically I'm the one doing the inspections because we got the little kids and they're definitely not age appropriate yet to be out here in the hives. I could definitely see Tyler smacking on the side of the hive. So, knock knock bees, here I am. Yeah, no, that's not good, buddy. So right now, just gonna take this off. We got the frames back in place. I'm gonna take this lid, put it back on the top box. Now we'll remove the top box and open and finish the inspection on the bottom box. You always want to remember to put your Swiffer sheets back in there. It helps just trap the hive beetles like we discussed before. Give it a little twist so you don't accidentally pinch any bees in there. They don't like that. Okay.
You need this right now.
Yeah. Hold on, guys. Right with you. I gotta keep puffing it anyway.
Yeah, okay.
So just got a good light on it now. Now we'll just make sure we keep it puffing. When I'm not using it, I'll hand it to Crystal to give a little puff here and there.
So now that we've gone through one box, what was this box specifically called?
So right now, this hive has 2 brood, which are eggs, boxes on them. So you have the lower brood box, which is always there, and as they start to expand, you can either add a super or a second brood box. The super is the honey box, which some of the other hives have on them right now. So, but right now, this one was a split off of Crystal's hive, so it's not quite there. We added the second brood box because they had filled the bottom and the queen just needed a little bit more room to lay. So this year what we're planning on doing, based on the way they're growing, is if they get to the point where they need another split, we'll take from this top box and make nukes, which are usually 5 frames, and you can sell them. That's typically how people start in the spring and summer, is they'll get a nuke, which is about 3 frames of brood with bees, and then 1 to 2 frames of resources. Usually you leave at least 1 frame partially empty so that the queen has room to continue laying while you're waiting for the hive to get established. But again, you take your pry bar tool, stick it in here, you'll hear the crack, you hear that, and then you just give them a little puff just to give them a little calm. Say, hey, I know I was in the top box, but here I'm coming. It keeps the bees from crawling out while you're prying the box, because again, you don't want any bees squished if you can avoid it. Here, Chris.
Yeah.
It does get hot, so watch yourself. So then basically there's a handle like this on the back too. You just give it a little crack, pick it up, pray to God that the queen isn't on this box.
Why wouldn't you want her on that box when you remove it?
Because you risk the chance of squishing her when you set it down, and we didn't get a chance to see her. So I'd like to see her. You don't always have to. We've seen evidence of her, so it's not super critical that we see her. But again, you can see there's a lot more activity in the bottom. This is where you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Looks like 6 frames that are full, maybe a little less. So we're getting a A little agitator, just give them a little puff. Sometimes what works is, depending upon which way the wind's blowing, you just give it a little puff and let the wind take the smoke across. But you see how it kind of just disperses them down into the hive. You see this bee over here fanning its wings. It's trying to regulate either pheromone or heat or whatever it's trying to do. A lot of times they'll push the queen's pheromone around. So again, we're gonna come this way a little bit. Side of that box is flexing. That's not good. That means they're really got this sucker stuck. So what we'll do is this one I know is empty. We'll pull this frame out. You always got to just be a little gentle. Make sure you don't rub the sides of the boxes. You don't want to squish any bees, but you definitely don't want to squish your queen. And everybody always says, oh, she won't be on the lid, she won't be on those end frames. I have seen both. I have opened my hives and seen a queen on the lid. I've opened my hives and seen a queen on the end frame. And the reason they say that is because typically the queen is where the brood is. So that's where she'll usually be. But if she's expanding the brood box, she's going to be on other frames. So, and new queens I've noticed my newer queens usually explore the box a little bit more. I've found them. It's a completely empty frame. No reason for her to really be there, but that's where she was. So, yeah, so this one has a lot of bee bread in it.
Why is that one black?
So it's just a different color plastic foundation. This is one of the frames that came with the boxes when I got it. I like the yellow. It just seems to me a little bit more natural. Sometimes the black is easy to see eggs down in there, but when the comb gets dark, it's really hard to see the eggs unless you're looking directly with the sun behind you, which is why even though I'm casting a shadow on the hive, it's bad for videotaping, but it's good for me because I can kind of turn it and see the sun shining down into the frames and see if there's eggs. That's really, like you don't really have to see the queen as long as you see there's fresh eggs and larvae. She's in there, she's doing a good job. I always like to see her because it just makes you feel a little bit better. You can judge her size, see how she's doing, see where, hold on, just doing a quick glance. This one's got a lot of bee bread and pollen on it. You can see if you have a new queen, if it's still the same queen that you had that was marked. So this queen this frame looks like it's all resources. There's just a ton of bee bread in there. That's just what all that
you
dark.
Come in or actually stay where you are. I can zoom in just a little bit.
But yeah, there's just a ton of resources in here.
Cool.
You can see that glistening bit right there. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but
yes.
The whole right side of that is all nectar and honey. None of it's capped yet. And you can see the difference, like this corner's capped.
And I think Amber's joining us as well. If you are, just make a comment so I can see you guys and say hi. Thanks for tuning in.
Sometimes, like this one, is going to be not going to have as much on it because that's one way to get them to start drawing out frames is you can put it in between drawn frames and they'll start working those frames quicker. So, but you can see they started doing a little bit of that funky.
I can't really see because your arms.
Funky comb in there.
Yeah.
So you can rip that out. You can leave it. Sometimes I like to see what they do with it. Sometimes they'll fix it themselves. Sometimes they won't.
Thank you, Amber and Nick, for joining us. Again, if you guys have any questions, please make comments and we would love to answer them.
I know Nick's going to say, where's my honey?
Show him, it's in the frame.
It I'm working on it, buddy. I'm working on it. Come on, ladies, get with it. Come on.
He's just puffing up the smoker again.
Get the smoker going. Still a little bit of smoke coming out.
We're doing a lot more talking than he's used to doing an inspection hive. He's constantly puffing it normally, but it keeps going out today because we're talking a lot.
It's because I ran my mouth. I've never ever had this problem. And people are always like, oh, I can't keep my smoker lit. And then as soon as the first time I do a video live, my smoker won't stay lit.
Here, I'll work on that again.
Okay, so, here we go. Nice full frame. Again, I just do a quick glance, make sure the queen's not on there.
So that's kind of our goal right now, is looking for the queen and just kind of seeing what's going on in the hive, making sure they're healthy and that they have everything that they need.
Yep. I mean, it's that time of year. You gotta just keep an eye out for queen cells.
Why this time of year do you have to look out for queen cells?
So in the spring and summer, when things get hot and the box fills up because she just starts laying like crazy, their population just booms, and basically bees are designed to duplicate and expand. And as a beekeeper, you're trying to do the opposite and keep them from doing what they're designed to do. So you basically, we've had a couple swarms this year, unfortunately, but you basically just, you don't want that. If you can avoid it, you try to keep it. That's why you can do splits and make nukes, sell them, or you can expand the apiary. When we started with 2 colonies, and we did splits, and now we have 4. So the goal is to just keep them from splitting and losing the colony. You don't want to box or sell them. Then that's the goal. But when they swarm, the queen takes half the bees and leaves. So there goes half your workforce. Oops, sorry, bee.
Amber, sorry, I was doing the smoker. I see you do have a question here. Where are my bee plants? I got you.
Oh, they're over here, back over my shoulder. Don't show her, they're not looking at you.
I can show you the pretty one.
Yeah. We don't have water run back here yet, so we got to come back here and keep everything watered. And
yeah, we have.
It's not that easy every day, unfortunately.
We have a 2.5 acre property, and the bees are at the very back of our property. And our well is, I wouldn't say right at the front.
It's about halfway.
It's about halfway.
There are plans for we've got a rain barrel back here already, and I want to get a solar setup so we can pump water everywhere to the different flowers and plants that we have. So that is in the works, and that will make it a lot easier. Right now we basically have to tote 5-gallon buckets back here. We do have a cart, but the kids don't always cooperate in the evenings, and it's a lot easier when it's both of us here than just Crystal, and Crystal tries to get out and do it in the mornings. But
Tyler loves to help. He's our big helper.
The plan is for yours to hang right on that post right there, Amber. So I got another hook. I just got to put it up, and then we'll get that plant hanging up there.
Right now it's got vines on it.
You see that smoker? Please and thank you. There's a lot of bees at this end. Makes me wonder if we're going to see the queen on this end. I have not seen her yet. You got that sucker going good now, babe.
You gave me one job.
Okay, this one is real heavy. Tells me it's got a lot of bees and a lot of honey. Come on, lady, where are you? I don't see her. There's a lot of festooning going on here, which is those bees hanging off the bottom of the frame. That's called festooning.
I can't see your... there you go. Okay.
Check this side real quick. Don't see her anywhere.
It's a bummer we haven't seen her.
Yeah. They are camera shy sometimes. What?
She doesn't go down in the hive, right? That's not her butt sticking out of one of those hives? One of the...
No, usually her butt sticks down in the
okay, yeah.
Because she'll be laying. She won't be... Like, she's got attendant bees that feed her. So she doesn't have to worry about taking nectar or pollen out. If they're down in the frame head first, it's usually the worker bees.
And what makes her so special of why she has attendants and...
So they basically just want to keep her working. She is like a one-person sweatshop. Just keep my bees going, keep my bees going. Make us more bees, Mom. That's what they keep saying. Okay,
how many eggs can she lay in a day?
The queen can lay up to 2,000 eggs in one day.
2,000?
So if you think about it, you can fit about 3,000 cells on one side of this frame. So that's a lot. That's like a third of one side of a frame that she can lay in a day. So she can move through it. She can fill a hive pretty quickly, which is why you got to make sure you keep room. Otherwise, they just want to swarm. So a lot of times once you start puffing that smoke, they'll get on the sides of the boxes too. So you might not see her because she just tries to steer clear, and sometimes that's how they move from frame to frame, is on the sides of the boxes. So like I said, that's why I was hoping she wasn't on that other box. The likelihood of her leaving the box is low, but there's always a chance. But there's so many bees, she can be hiding under the bees and you won't see her. I don't really see too many eggs in the bottom box, which makes me think she was in the top.
Or maybe her marking got rubbed off and...
No, it's not in a week. I marked her last week, so they typically don't mark or wipe her off that quick. But unless there's a new queen, but I mean the laying pattern that I saw, she's doing better, because the first week she wasn't doing that great. It was sporadic eggs, but then she gets her habit back in her routine. And
so my question now is, how do you mark a queen?
That is a very good question. So I will show you as soon as I put this frame back down in here.
Since this is the last frame of this hive.
I mean, technically, I can do it with a drone if you really want to see how it's done.
Well, we can do a video on that another time. This is just a general inspection. We are hitting an hour, which most of the time, I guess, in the beginning, unless you're fluent in it, it takes about an hour to go through a hive.
I've gotten down to, I can do all four in about 3 hours. That's setup and cleanup included. So I've gotten a lot faster than I was in the beginning, but doing the smoker and trying to make sure we're showing the camera and a lot of the information, or doing a video definitely slows things down just a little bit. But, so basically, show you real quick here. What you do is, like I said, for 2024, the color is green. So you'll take this device, and it's got like a garage door up top, and then a slide door here, and it's got this little foam cushion in here so it doesn't squish the queen. But when you get the frame and you see her on the frame, you can just open it slightly, get her, if she, so assume this is the frame.
Yeah, can you show us with one of the other bees?
I can, yeah.
Since you got it out, I didn't know you had it in your pocket.
Oh, I always put it in my pocket. Always prepared, just in case one of them decided to swarm, or they wiped her off, or...
Well, and that's Matthew Herka, always prepared.
I'm usually pretty good about spotting the queen, so when I don't see her, that's what makes me think she's on the sides of the boxes or something, not necessarily on the frame I'm looking at. Not by any special skills I have. In my preparations for learning how to do this, I try to look at a lot of pictures of frames. Let's see here. Make sure she hasn't crawled onto this one while I put it back in the hive. They do that. They're sneaky little buggers. No pun intended. Okay, let's see. Where's a drone?
Yeah, show us a difference between a drone
and
a
little drone buddy. Well, the drones don't have stingers, so you can grab those suckers with your hand.
Oh.
There's one. So watch out, bees. I don't want to get you on the corner. So typically, I'll just kind of shake it off a little bit so that they don't get squished. Take this.
You need another hand?
No. Where'd he go? Where'd you go, you little stinker?
You knew you were coming.
You knew I was coming.
Yeah.
There you are. Take that.
You want me to hold the bee?
No, this.
Oh.
Is the door open?
Yep.
Turn it around so you can shut it when I put them in there.
Okay, hold on.
I got him. Beep. Shut it. Okay. So, we've now trapped the drone. So those slots are designed to, the queen is always bigger than the bees, so, or the worker bees, so that those slots are basically like queen size slots, so the workers can crawl out of the box, but the queens and the drones, because the drones are larger, cannot. Yep, I don't like that. Oh, come on, ladies. Don't commit suicide on me. There's a smoker.
Sorry, it's right here.
Hold on.
You started blowing them and now they're mad.
No, the one just stung me.
Oh, and it releases
pheromone,
releases a pheromone. That's why I'm trying to stay back because I don't have my gloves on.
They should typically leave you alone. We've just been in here a little while and they get agitated.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to have to be careful because when I do my checks, I'm going to have a marked drone in here.
Well, you don't have to actually mark
I'm going to mark it. So what you do is...
Hold on. Yeah, where are you going?
Shake your pen real good, get a couple dabs, because you definitely don't want to over-mark your queen.
Well, here, turn into the light so we can see.
Because if you over-mark her, then they might supersede her, because she's
so tell me what you're doing right now. Turn it sideways.
Shoving this up, trying to get him
so you kind of
to the top. He doesn't want to turn over.
Yeah, I don't want to squish him.
Well, it's just a drone, but yeah, you don't want to squish your queen, but he's really not wanting to turn over. He's trying to crawl out. Come on. There we go.
And you're trying to get his back.
Yeah, you want to get his back because you want to mark his thorax. Come on. Flip over. There we go. So you get him like that. Little dab. I'm not going to mark him a lot, but you get a little dot on him. You back it off, that way he can dry, and then you leave it sitting for a couple minutes so the queen has an opportunity to dry, because if you put her back in too soon, they will eliminate the marker, because it'll just rub off on all the other bees because they're constantly trying to attend to the queen. And
makes it a lot easier to find that.
Yeah, a lot easier. Like that was a small one because I don't want to be mistaking a drone for my queen, but usually I do a nice decent sized dot on there. You don't ever want to get her wings or her thorax, because like I said, then they think there's something wrong with her. Come on.
So, what is the lifespan of a queen? You said how long does it take from the time she's laid until she becomes full size?
Typically, I want to say it's like 16 days, but like I said, I'll put it in the comments because I don't remember off the top of my head exactly.
Okay, and then how long does she normally live
The
for?
queens live the longest. Most bees have like a 60-day-ish lifespan. The queen can live, the oldest they've ever seen was 7 years.
7 years?
Yeah, 7 years. So typically they stop producing in like 2 to 3, average can be 3 to 5 years. Commercial beekeepers will replace queens every year, every 2 years, just because as they get older, they just start to diminish. They usually have like 1 million eggs stored after they mate. So they basically
a million eggs stored in their body.
Yep. So they'll
after they mate. So and how often do they mate?
They mate. Usually it's once they are laid. They're virgin queens. They'll go out for their mating flight. Sometimes they do more than one mating flight. There's no.
Within a year, or
no? It's usually within the first couple weeks.
Okay.
Of them hatching, and they'll get that done, and then so they're born with all the eggs, but in the mating process, they can mate with multiple drones, and then they get all the semen, and then they store the semen and the eggs for their entire life. So that way, they can still lay drone eggs and worker eggs. Queens don't lay other queens, but they decide which one's which. Drones are just unfertilized workers. So as she's laying the egg, she decides whether she wants to fertilize that egg or not. If she doesn't, it becomes a drone. If she fertilizes, it becomes a worker cell. The workers, if there's a problem with the queen, can take one of those recently laid worker eggs and then transport it to a different cell. They'll make that into a queen cell, and basically most bees are like 2 to 3 days worth of royal jelly, and then that's it. The queen gets fed a lot more royal jelly, and that's what makes her a queen.
Okay.
So,
all right, well, it is time for us to say goodbye as Matt puts the roof on this absolutely wonderful hive, and I'm just gonna, sorry about the noise here, I'm gonna take this off of our little stand. I want to do just like a quick close-up of this hive because it is probably one of my favorites. Matt wood burned and he added some color to this hive. This is our Winnie-the-Pooh hive. It is our son's hive, and the reason why it's his hive is each stand that Matt made out of concrete, we put our handprints and initials into. So of course Tyler had multiple handprints on there. So this is his stand. Okay, I know we're losing connection here a little bit. So I'm just showing you guys the hive, showing you the back of the hive. We don't walk in this path because that's where the bees are coming and going all the time. I'm gonna go back around this way. And here is our logo. Matt did 2 logos. This is one on this hive, and then he did another one